Hey, Bobby.
Hi. How's everybody?
Awesome.
Veronica, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're on here, we need 7 for quorum.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
so we have 6.
One more. We signed Bowstring out of Raleigh. I don't know if you've heard of it. Remember the building they were going to do the brewery and the roof blew off?
Who just walked in?
They leased the whole thing. So
Mr. The illustrious Jared Patterson again.
Again.
Like deja vu all over again.
That's funny.
He's in a different chair though. He's trying for a different angle, wardrobe change.
Hi, Nancy. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Or he's going to do the boiler room.
Hello.
They don't have a presence. Yeah, well, it keeps flooding.
That what you see on the screen.
What?
I think that view makes me look fat. So we need another view, Dylan. There she is.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Good
So
afternoon.
we have quorum.
Recording in progress.
So we now have a quorum, Veronica?
Yes.
Then we can call the meeting to order.
Right on time.
I think we have here, but do we have any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. You're at the top of the list?
I'm the new business.
You're the new business, yes.
Dylan's going to bring a presentation up, and I appreciate your time, and I will not take too much of it. My name is Jared Patterson, and I am the Communication Director for the City of Wilmington, and I've got an informational presentation to give to you today that is on the quarter-cent sales tax measure, which is going to be on the ballot this November. This is really for informational purposes, just to kind of explain the background of this measure and what it is. And Dylan is going to get that pulled up here.
Can you ask Veronica to give me access?
Hey, Veronica, can you give Dylan sharing access?
Got it.
As we pull this up, I'll give you some initial background information. This is a presentation that was developed by New Hanover County that I'm going to be presenting for you This November 8th is the general election. There is a referendum that is on the ballot which would enable a 1/4 cent sales tax that would be used specifically for public transit systems. There we go. Here's just a brief overview of what this would be able to go towards: enhancing our trail connectivity, dealing with pedestrian safety, which is something that in Wilmington and New Hanover County we deal with quite a bit, issues of safety of pedestrians and bicyclists on our roads. We've got a pretty significant system of trails, crosswalks, sidewalks, dedicated bike lanes. These are all uses, potential uses for these funds, particularly as it would pertain to enhancing the connectivity of these modes of transportation to our public transit system. Dylan, can you advance the slide? This mouse is not being friendly with me here. Here are some of the details of this. This is a referendum. 1/4 cent sales tax. It is a yes/no vote that's going to show up on your November 8th ballot. It's going to be 25 cents for every $100 spent is what this equates to. Not all goods are subject to the sales tax. Groceries, fuel, prescription drugs, for example, you don't pay sales tax on those, and so this would not apply to those purchases. The projections of what kind of revenue a 1/4 cent sales tax would bring in is around $14 million a year. The projections were about $144 million over 10 years, so fairly substantial amount of money and a sustainable source of funding as well. Something also that I want to point out is that these funds, one of the real benefits, public benefits of these types of funds is that they can be used to leverage for much larger sums of money. So, for example, if you have a large transportation project that's going to be receiving, just as an example, an 80% funding from a federal entity, a lot of times that is contingent on a 20% match from the local level. So these funds could be used as those or contributing to those local funds that would enable that match that could amplify them many times over in the community. Next slide, if you would please, Dylan. A look at the funding framework. Folks have put together kind of what the major known priorities are for eligible purposes for these funds. And if you were to take that and divide those major priorities over the next 10 years out, looking at that approximately $144 million that a 1/4 cent sales tax would bring in, you'd see about 45% would contribute to priorities for wave transit, 39% for enhancing our bicycle pedestrian paths throughout New Hanover County, and 16% would contribute to implementing certain parts of the city's rail realignment project. If you could hit the next slide there. I'm going to drill down a little bit on each of those three. Bike and pedestrian, we've got a significant network of multi-use trails and bike and pedestrian facilities. These funds would be able to better connect these to one another, filling in gaps and improving them and enhancing them, as well as connecting them to public transit, wave bus stops, for example, and as well as safer crosswalks, dedicated bike lanes, many aspects that would enhance the bike and pedestrian facilities and connectivity in the county. Here on this slide shows you some of those specific trails that are kind of identified as priorities for potential uses by these funds. On the right side of the screen, you see a map that shows from north to south and east to west throughout the county. You've got potential trails as well as sidewalks, crosswalks, safer intersection improvements that are identified on this map as potential uses. Grab that next slide there. Wave transit would also be able to see a pretty impactful infusion of investment that would enable some pretty key improvements to the system that have been identified as priorities, expanding the hours of service, increasing the frequency of the routes is certainly something that's been identified as a priority, as well as enhancing the bus stops, bringing in enhanced technology and free youth passes as well. The rail realignment project is something that the city of Wilmington has been working towards for a few years now. Essentially, we've got rail lines that are running through the middle of downtown, and it becomes pretty problematic in terms of an interruption for traffic, but not just an interruption for traffic. If you're relying on bike and pedestrian ways of getting around, when you've got a train coming through, that's also interrupting that connectivity and efficiency of that as well. And so what this project is seeking to do is to relocate that rail outside of the dense urban areas so that it's no longer impacting traffic and street flows the way that it does currently. One of the, again, great uses of these funds would be to enable leverage for larger sums of money. Big projects like this, and this is a big project. They've got to start somewhere, and it takes a lot of money to accomplish them. When we see projects like this in other communities, Orange County, Wake County, Durham County, Mecklenburg County all have a half-cent sales tax dedicated for this purpose, and that enables large-scale projects through leveraging these funds. This, I will point out, is not a half-cent. This is a quarter-cent sales tax that we're talking about here. If we could hit the next page, or the next slide, rather, I want to show you South Front Street. This is a depiction of really a key component and a key initial component for the rail realignment project. South Front Street, you see the yellow line is South Front Street. You've got a railroad, that purple line coming through that crisscrosses in a couple of ways across that road and becomes really problematic when trains with freight cars are going back and forth as many as 19 times a day over there. And so what this project would enable is to relocate that rail line off the road. It's no longer going across the road, and it's taking it out prospectively across the river. That's going to enable that a real transformation of that entire street to enhance connectivity, bring in a bus stop, bringing in trails and pedestrian and bicycle facilities so that it becomes a much more usable road. And let me see. I think that's all that I have for you in terms of slides. If you want to know more about the rail project, I would encourage you to go to the city's website under major projects, where you can learn more about the rail realignment project. And then if you want to learn more about the quarter-cent sales tax, there's a really great website that our friends at the county have put together, trailstransitnhc.com. Very informational, includes a lot of information and FAQs there, so I would commend that to you if you have any interest in learning about this anymore.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time.
Any questions?
This is Chris. I don't want to tie up a lot of time on this, but basically you're splitting into three principal buckets: the wave, the safety, and then the rail realignment. And as part of the MSD, I'm all in support of anything that improves the environment within the MSD. I have no issue with that. And I don't want to tie up people's time, but isn't the wave always a thorn for the city of Wilmington in terms of funding? It has been over the last several years. And wouldn't that potentially tie up a significant amount of funding of the quarter-cent increase? And I'm saying this as a taxpayer in New Hanover County. That's really kind of my question.
Yeah, well, what I would point out to you is, and again, I would commend the website to learn more specifically about how public transit would be impacted by this. But this is a sales tax that is really dedicated towards public transit. And so there are a lot of statutory requirements for how this money would be used. But in addition to that, it would enable a sustainable funding system and an independent funding system for public transit that doesn't currently exist. And so you're really bringing in new dollars to that. And so I hope that kind of sheds a little bit of light on your question.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. On to the next item, election of officers and directors. I'll turn it over to Chance.
All right. Sorry, I'm having some echo here on my phone. So, yeah, that time of the year, I think with Clark stepping down at the end of last fiscal year, that leaves one vacancy for the chairman position. Mr. Davis has stepped in the interim as the interim chair, historically the vice chair. But if I am not mistaken, historically, these elections have been done by the MSD once a year, if not once every other year. But with Clark missing or Clark dropping out, I think it's behooves us to take a vote, recommendations, and a motion on volunteers for chairman and vice chair.
I'm happy to throw my hat in the ring for nomination of chair.
Great.
Thank you.
If that's Thomas, I second.
Excellent. Good job, Tom.
I try.
What about vice chair? Any volunteers or recommendations from the committee? So long as Tom does his job most of the time, it should be a pretty painless role.
That's probably what he thought.
Speaking, so yeah, that's right. until I resign, that's right.
Anybody?
Who is not here?
I like that.
Look at that.
That's what you did the last time.
I know. Work too.
Nancy, I think standing members that aren't here are Ray and David Gross, I believe. Yeah, Clark stepped down. Rosalind's been MIA, so she's in queue to get reappointed, and Teresa is about to get reappointed with someone else. So I think standing members that aren't here, Ray and David Gross.
I'll volunteer to nominate David Gross.
I
Second.
would nominate the gentleman that lives in River Place. Is it Bill?
Yeah, he is.
Bill Bryden, yeah.
Now that COVID is about over, though, we plan to travel a lot, so it's not going to help you much.
All right, so we have a nomination for David
Yep.
and Mr. Bryden here. So I think we need to take a show of hands on. Let's start with the absent member, Mr. Gross. So show of hands on who's voting for David Gross.
I am. I can't. I'm not on the screen.
So we got 1, 2, Ryan, Chris, 3, 4, Nancy, 5, Terry, 6. So I think that's a majority of the vote right there. Give Bill a pass.
Thank you.
Since he's already standing member on like 4 other either boards or committees right now. So.
I guess, Bill, you'll be able to travel then.
That's right.
I've been told I'm going to have to travel anyway, so.
Excellent. We'll inform Mr. Gross of his new duties, and if there's complications, we can always have a re-election for that vice chair. It's a pretty smooth move, Nancy. We can strike my comment from the record, but that's a smooth move.
Thank you.
It's all being recorded. You can't get away from it.
That's right.
All right, I'll hand it back over to our Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I guess we're done. Next on the agenda is our peer insight platform update from WDI.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the past several months, well, given a large portion of the year, we've been working on a really exciting new piece of technology that will help us calculate the economic growth of the downtown community, and we've been working alongside Peer, which is a veteran-owned local company, technology company, to help us do this. And today we are looking at going forward with a memorandum of understanding between WDI and Peer. And I have Mark Mazzone. Is that how you say it?
It's Mazzoni. It's okay.
Mazzoni, excuse me. Mark Mazzoni here with us today to give you some information on the platform, the company, and just answer any questions about the MOU.
Awesome. And I have just and also we have on the call as well my Chief Technology Officer, Jonathan Gilliard, who's also a veteran as well. So what we'll do really quick, I have it's about 4 slides, a quick presentation, sort of some background on us, the platform, where we are and where we're going. And then of course, any questions that you all have after that, we'll be happy to answer. But thank you all for taking the time to listen to, to hear what we have to say, to talk about the platform and of course, where we're going. Do this really quick. And everyone can see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, and what you see here, of course, is our logo. There's actually several components to our overall ecosystem. I know in the prior presentation there was talk about jobs, but that's a separate discussion for another time. It's actually a key component of our ecosystem that we're looking at launching in the next couple months alongside what we've been doing with Insight as well. So as Christina said, we are a veteran-owned HR and jobs technology startup, and the Insight tool is really a component of the overall ecosystem that serves as a data and analytics reporting tool. Now, why that matters, especially with WDI and with the Central Business District, as well as any outlying districts, is that the idea is to ingest all types of data from employment, jobs, tax, and property values, look at that over time, look at trend charts and other visualizations that really can be leveraged by the decision makers, whether it's the MSD Advisory Committee, WDI, the City Council, the City Manager, really any of the decision makers of any municipal governing body. And Wilmington is our pilot city. Where we are, we worked alongside Christina over the past, like she said, over the past several months to develop a survey to collect and ingest that data. And what that will actually, let me backtrack a little bit. That'll help us in a lot of ways, and I'll get to that in a bit. As we've developed that survey, we've been building out the infrastructure and framework for what the input and output looks like, and my CTO can speak better to that should you have any questions surrounding that. And the idea is to use everything that we're building plus the survey to actually do the data collection, provide analysis and visualization. So when I talk about future components, and I'll get to that in a second, it'll all kind of come together a bit better. Part 2 of that is working with WDI to get the data input done across the Central Business District and other districts that either are in or surrounding the MSD. What we want to do alongside that is gather feedback as we do the data, as we get the data input done, and see how the platform functions, and then use that to whether fix any bugs that might arise or to actually think about what future enhancements could look like. And with consistent input and usage, we can actually leverage the power of the platform for Wilmington's decision makers, because I think as we move forward and we see those trends start to develop, that'll be a lot more useful when it comes to that economic snapshot that I think will be helpful in just overall reporting that WDI would provide to you all or to the city council or whomever is interested in having access to that data. Where we're going, everyone here, at least I hope, has seen or knows of Google Maps. What we did in our initial research, some time ago, was we learned that over half of the initial businesses, like as far as the numbers, because there's about 500-ish businesses within a half-mile radius of the Central Business District. The idea is to build listings like that because those listings lead to foot traffic, and that foot traffic leads to tax revenue for the city. To make it open, accessible, current, but it would be within our own platform, but completely accessible. That's a future feature. But in order to get there, we have to collect everything we need now with WDI and getting the data input done. Then, of course, in the future, looking at streamlined processes to eliminate, sort of the manual processes that, whether it's Wilmington or other smaller bodies engage in. I mean, the great thing with technology and software is instead of paying a full-time salary, you could, for a fraction of the price, leverage the software and save time and money doing so. And then finally, a big one is going to be, once we get through V1 of the platform, to do automated reporting. So at the press of a button, you could look and see what the economic snapshot of the MSD looks like, and use that as a discussion point in whatever presentations you have, and just look at those over time. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, as far as who we are, where we are, and where we're going. As far as the MOU goes, that identifies what the next 12 months looks like ideally, as far as working directly with WDI. I think if I remember correctly, let me end the show. And there I did email, Christina does have a copy of the presentation if you all would like a copy of it. But the MOU is to identify what the next 12 months look like as far as our work with WDI, the personnel involved, the data collection, and also the costs associated. So I'm open to your questions. And of course, for any more detailed technology questions, my CTO is here to answer those as well.
Hello?
Mark, is this a county-wide system that you're working on, or just strictly the downtown area?
It's starting in downtown. The idea is to grow it into New Hanover County, because really the power that can be leveraged with it, it starts really focused with the CBD, but then expands. So as much as WDI or other organizations or the city government wants to be involved, then we can look and see what that looks like. But right now we're starting super focused, super small, and then refining everything with that process. We don't want to go too big too fast and then run into issues. So starting small, using WDI and the CBD and the MSD as those pilots is going to be beneficial for everyone across the board in terms of time and resources involved.
I know WDI funded you for the first year. Is any other organizations going to get on board with funding also?
No, that will cover what we need to get done. There won't be, WDI is the only one. We won't need any other funding from other organizations to make that happen. Whether or not they want to purchase access later, that remains to be seen. But right now, there won't be any other outside funding sources.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the MSD has taken on the funding for this survey, and it's only going to be within the central business district, specifically to be used by the MSD, the city, and any other organizations who wish to have this data at their fingertips. And I did provide a copy of the agreement with, I think, Chance and Veronica earlier. So we will need to take a vote on whether or not you guys agree with the terms in the next 12 months set forth by this agreement, and then I will take it to our WDI executive committee to look over and agree to sign on behalf of the organization.
I didn't see it.
Christine, are you going to email us the documents to review?
Yeah, I don't think the MOU got sent out.
I didn't know I was supposed to send it out. I can send it out.
Yeah, I didn't think we were taking official action on it, since it was kind of already a budgeted item and a subcontractor role of WDI.
Okay.
So if the committee, yeah, we can certainly send that out this week to the committee. I don't think I was aware we were drafting terms out for review for the committee, but I can happily send that out. If we need to take action, we can do that, next month.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
that slows things down.
Right, I'll look forward to it.
Is this platform going to be on the MSD website eventually, or part of it?
We can offer. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christina.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we can offer a link for that, so that way it's accessible to anyone who, depending on how we grant access, and we work with WDI on that. But I don't see the issue in there being a link to it on the WDI website. However, we're going to structure that. Well, you can work with WDI on, or if you all have any input on what that could look like, then we can definitely work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to old business. which is a tree well report update.
All right, you guys are stuck with me again. Tree well update, a good positive update after nearly 4 years in the making. And, a lot of patience from some of the, yeah. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here. 4 years in the making, a lot of patience from the MSD committee. As of, I think, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, the city's public facilities and their subcontractor, Jimco Construction, completed the installation of, I think, nearly 188 flex pave tree wells throughout the MSD, kind of the core of the CBD area. Replacement of, for the most part, the older tree wells that were uneven, tree roots kind of gone haywire crazy. In some cases, replacement of the metal tree grates. But I don't know if anyone's noticed this over the last few weeks, but it's, in my humble opinion, a pretty vast improvement throughout downtown. So excellent work by the committee here.
Well, I've had a lot of really positive comments.
Yeah.
Both the looks of it and the colors. The color was just right. One question on the upgrade of Front Street. Is that going to, the tree wells there going to be the same thing? Or are they going to put metal grates in there?
That's a great question, Bill. The original plans, similar to most of the new recent streetscaping, has been the metal tree grates initially. They are having a tough time sourcing these tree grates for these 2 blocks on Front Street, 200, 300 block of Front Street. So the last I heard, engineering was kind of looking at both options. Number one, waiting for the other tree grates that are very, very expensive, and or potentially going with the flex pave option. And I don't know that I've heard an answer.
Can we push them to go with this? I mean, it's so much nicer looking. It's safer, too. The metal grates become a tripping hazard pretty fast.
Yeah, I will certainly ask and follow up to see where they landed, because I think the price increased at the same time of some significant delays from that metal fabricator.
Maybe we can sell our old grates as scrap metal.
I think some of those old grates are being repurposed as we speak right now. So, but huge improvement. And it probably should be known too, I believe city staff now is currently trained to apply this kind of flex pave membrane, and should have the ability to do that in kind of small kind of one-off cases.
Okay.
So if we have a problem, you see a tree grate here and there, let me know, and it should be something we can get in their queue as a one-off here and there. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chance. And on to reports. Do we have anybody from the police here? Lieutenant is MIA. All right.
Yes.
And off to WDI. Back to Christina.
All right. Well, our 5-year MSD contract with the city has been fully executed, so that's good news. We'll be managing those services over the next 5 years under the same budget that was presented to you prior to this fiscal year starting. And that did include our new street outreach program, which started last November. So we'll be continuing the clean, safe, and outreach services for the entire Central Business District. The homeless outreach issue has been a priority for WDI and the MSD for the past 2 months. We have executed a new indemnity agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation through our contractor Block by Block for our ambassadors and our street outreach coordinator to access the NCDOT-owned rail corridor and 3rd Street Bridge site. WDI has led 2 successful coordinated cleanup efforts around the 3rd Street Bridge site. The first was executed in July. We removed 36 bags of trash, 15 hypodermic needles, and portions of a pop-up skate park, the rest of which was removed by NCDOT, a concrete half pipe, and a couple other items that we weren't able to remove. They removed that a week later. The last one was on September 1st. That was in coordination with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, WPD, and volunteers from Coastal Horizons PATH team and Port City United Church. More than 2,500 pounds of trash was removed from the underneath the bridge and around the corridor. NCDOT provided a tremendous amount of resources for that. We had 5 total volunteers, and NCDOT has pledged to provide the same amount of resources for a large cleanup of that 3rd Street bridge property with our social services groups once a quarter. We are planning to do a once-a-month cleanup effort, however, to kind of get the excess trash in between the once a quarter by DOT. We plan that with our social services community, our faith-based groups, and Cape Fear River Watch. Excuse me. So that project is moving along. Any questions? Excuse me. We did meet with the Murchison Building and River Place property managers to discuss homeless outreach there. And I think that's about it for our homeless outreach initiatives. Excuse me. We have sold the MSD truck for $6,000, and we will provide a check to the City of Wilmington here this month. And overall, the MSD teams did a fantastic job this summer. We had 2,500 business contacts, removed 237 pieces of graffiti, and took down 376 handbills. For our FIG grant program, we recently approved 4 new facade improvement grants, and for a total of $1,500 in funding. We have $10,000 left for the next fiscal year. And that's about it.
Thank you, Christina. Any questions?
Just a quick one. When I was reading through the report, again, I'm totally in favor of the Street Ambassadors program and also the work that's being done with the homeless population. But if I'm reading this correctly, have we lost some street ambassadors? And if so, are we replacing them?
No, we have lost no street ambassadors. We have 4 street ambassadors that are performing 144 hours a week.
Okay.
And now that our hanging baskets program has been done away with, I guess, we will be having an extra 60 hours on the street.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw that. That was really good. Maybe I'm confused with an older report. It seemed like at some time there might have been some departures of the ambassadors, but maybe that's months past.
We have had some staffing issues, but as of last month, we are fully staffed. We've
That's
had
great.
one new hire, and he's doing a fantastic job, and we hope that we'll retain all 4 ambassadors throughout the fall and into next summer.
Thank you so much. That's very good.
Back over to the city with Chance.
Thanks, Tom. Some quick updates on the city side. Bijou Park. Well, actually, let's start with first. For those of you that are here in person, you know that our new home now, it looks like for now indefinitely, is going to be at 115 North 3rd Street. That is the old Harrelson building, old Crestcom Bank, and I believe it has a new bank name now currently. But 5th floor of 115 North 3rd Street will be our in-person home as of right now. There were some complications with the city's Board of Adjustments process, and the volume of applicants and volume of public attendees didn't quite work for this space, so we drew the short straw and made the swap with them. So
It's very comfortable.
yeah, it's a little more homey in here, I believe. So, Bijou Park update. What I was told most recently was going to be a lighting lit full opening, most likely end of September. It sounds like as of this afternoon, we are still waiting on some lighting electrical components for that project. supply chain delays, as a lot of folks are experiencing. So I don't have a date. Looks like they were looking to do some more temporary lighting closer in to the Riverfest first weekend or second weekend of October, and the hopes that they get those electrical components very soon thereafter. It has been temporarily opened about a month ago for kind of ADA accessibility from River Place through the park out to Front Street. Minor update, 200, 300 Front Street streetscaping project. I think, as everyone here knows, very, very challenging on both sides for the city, CFPUA, and business owners in that corridor. It was paved last week. That's a good positive progress point there. Should be transitioning north to the 300 block, I believe, as early as next week, if not the following week. I believe before they do that full transition, the goal is to open up the full intersection of Grace and Front Street before that full transition happens moving north. Parking update, 2nd Street parking deck, CIP rehab project continues. There's been some delays there. We've had to shut the deck down to daily ticket holder parkers the last few days to do some kind of last minute exterior interior work. But most of that work interior should be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which will leave one facade on the exterior and then a complete rebuild of the stairwells inside. So big long-term safety project there, and a great thing to see happening next door. That's it on the city side.
Great, thank you, Chance.
Any questions from any committee members?
Well, if there's no questions, then
Yeah, one quick one.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
What about the Coast Guard pier, not the...
Bill, what I'm aware of, the most recent Coast Guard work has been completed. It has been reopened in its current state.
So it's only closed now because of the building work?
Correct. There's 2 barricade situations over there. One is the closure of Water Street is due to the courthouse work that I believe we're still 18 to 24 months out on completion, so that one's going to take a while. The other barricades are out toward the perimeter of that project and right at the water side. When the Coast Guard reopened, they reopened their section there on the water with really no safety parameters, and the city came in last couple weeks and put some fence to barricades up just for safety purposes. Try to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible while keeping everyone safe.
Has the Coast Guard turned that over to the city?
I believe they're behind the scenes. Federal government's trying to figure out what they want to do with that property currently, whether it be a sale, some kind of land swap or something with the city, so to be determined there. And then kind of what happens with that property, the progress point of the federal government all kind of plays into kind of the redesign and streetscaping of that block of Water Street, as well as kind of the historic riverfront park there and some of that redesign. So
Thank you.
We'll keep that one on the update list.
Thank you, Chance. If there's no further questions, we can adjourn by getting up or signing off. Sorry, Veronica, go ahead.
Sorry, a couple of things. We did not approve the minutes, and the telephone number on the screen, I didn't catch who that was, the 200-2677.
I didn't see that either.
Elizabeth?
Veronica, that's Elizabeth. That's
Okay.
the phone number.
Thank you.
So we still have a quorum. All right. So
Yeah.
we need to approve the minutes that Christina and Veronica had sent out.
I make a motion the minutes be approved.
Any second?
Second.
Second from Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right. Motion carries. And if we're all done, sign off by getting up or signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.